no.
Welcome back, everybody. We just had a little bit of a discussion previous to going live. But anyways, game number 2, EWT versus FFG. Is it going to be the hamster or is it going to be the cat? I kind of chose the black cat because one of the things is that I own 2 black cats. Their names are Kobe and Loki. But I'm trying to prove you guys wrong, and I'm really hoping that FFG will do something for game number 2. Without further ado, let's go into the draft. Okay, so game number 2. We know that Six is one of the best junglers in the game. One of the other people that are really good, what people are saying is also one of the best is North. Should they target Six's jungler gaming potential, Cynic?
I mean, if you attack Six, then you're gonna let Felix get Severog. So I don't think that the plan should be attack Six. I think they should just prioritize getting strong lanes and try to come up with some creative game plan to get ahead and not play it standard, because it's not going to work. And we see the Drongo ban again from Even Worse Timing again, as we said before. Very strong, versatile ADC. And maybe Even Worse Timing might ban the Drongo and then follow up with another ADC ban again, like the Revenant they banned in the previous game.
Yeah, I kind of want to see For Fun Gamers spice some things up here. It seems like they need to do something, right? I really want to see some level 1 shenanigans, as we kind of stated before. We need to see them shake it up, go guns a-blazing. So I'm really interested to see what they're going to come out with here. But we do see Decker ban. I think that's really good. I think Seismic piloted that champion really well last game. And we also know that Vecron is a monster on that champion as well. So really safe ban here.
Yeah, and we saw the Muriel previously on the Vecron, but obviously the Decker in mid was just very good in terms of he was just pushing and roaming, getting the picks with the CC and obviously the cage as we saw in the previous game. It's very versatile and obviously very dangerous in Even Worse Timing's hand. But I'm interested to see what Even Worse Timing take then instead. They'll probably just go to a default, but they take Bellica away. Again, could be flexed in the mid lane or it could be flexed into the support role as we said in the previous game. But obviously, I think this will probably be played support, and then kind of maybe open up for the Gideon and the Gadget as we previously talked about. But for Fun Gamers, the response here would probably be, I would say they'd probably either take the Steel away or the Severog away from the Felix as we talked about. But as we saw in the previous game, Felix was a monster on the Steel anyway, so I don't think it really matters what he gets. I think giving him the Steel gives him a little bit more, obviously, tankability and just diving the backline, but obviously the Severog allows him just to do more damage. But the Richter and the Severog is what they take.
Yeah, like I said last game, I think Richter is a huge pick for Fun Gaming's. I know Mad Corporeal can play it really well. I think that Zephyr actually, while he did get kind of focused in the last game, he did pilot the champion okay. He did just get put behind in his lane. He couldn't really do much. But I think they actually had, Richter's really high priority for that team. So I think 2 really good pickups. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Even Worse Timing go here. I think it would be safe to pick up their offlaner here if they go for the Steel. We saw Shin pilot that really, really well last game. So it would be pretty good. And then we also get the Gadget, which is awesome. Get that push in the mid lane.
Yeah. Do you think the Richter will be played in the jungle, or you think we'll see the first time Severog jungle in this?
I think that's a really great question. I think they're both flex picks. I really feel as though it could be the Richter in the jungle, kind of Mad Corporeal going back to his roots, and that Severog being that staple big tanky boy in the offlane.
Yeah, and then obviously, as you said, we see the Steel and the Gadget, very, very strong picks in the macro sense in terms of very good AoEs, zone control. And then Gideon obviously picked up for Fun Gamers, as we've seen Gadget and Gideon picked up in most matchups today. And obviously, it's a very strong team fight with Severog and Richter. This is kind of what I didn't want for Fun Gamers to play, but we'll see if they can turn it around in this game. I was kind of expecting more early game orientated characters and kind of try and blow the game open. But we'll see what they round the composition out with. Obviously, they have to pick their duo lane unless the Richter is going to be played support. Which could be a possibility, but they banned the Chimera from even worse timing. Honestly, I don't think even worse timing were even thinking about the Chimera at this point. I think they have the crunch. It worked last game. 6 is very strong on the crunch, and obviously there isn't a Drongo in the game, so even more reason to pick it. But we'll see what even worse timing round this out with.
Yeah, I think that's a good point here. I don't think Chimera was even on their radar. I mean, 6 is a great player. He's got kind of a champ ocean. It's really hard to kind of ban him out. If it's not the crunch, it's not the Kalari, which he's known for. His third pick would have been the Chimera. So I don't know. I think we're seeing here the TB ban here. I like this ban. Like we said last game, gives a lot of push in the lane. It's very strong. Kind of like that R button delete is really good in these team fights.
Yeah, I think Pablo is very versatile on what character he can play, so I don't really feel like they need to prioritize the ADC pool right now. Obviously, Revenant is taken away, which leaves Murdoch and Sparrow still open, and obviously the Kira. Maybe we'll see another shenanigans. Maybe we see ADC Belica for the first time. Wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. They are a game up. Maybe they try something. Maybe they've done it in scrims. I have no idea, but the Revenant obviously isolating targets can get ahead and snowball from that, which is something I was looking at. Like, Revenant is one of those picks I would say that they probably should prioritize early game power, and obviously you can snowball relatively easily with the passive. But let's see what even worse time we retaliate with, which is Zarus. Let's go. I was hoping even worse time would pull it out, and I'm pretty sure this is going in the jungle, and obviously the Murdoch to round it out a very safe and very strong ADC can impact the map with the ultimate. But yeah, let's see what for fun gamers round this composition out with.
Yeah, let's see if 6 can get the Joe Yours truly stamp of approval on this Zarus pick. Let's see what he goes with his build, because that'll be super interesting. And we do see that For Fun Gamers rounded out with Muriel. I think she's very safe. That early levels, she does like to bully. We'll see, but I think this is a very well-rounded team comp for that 5v5 front-to-back team.
Oh my goodness, Zarus, let's go. We're going to be seeing another Zarus game. I'm super excited, like what Mr. Meds was saying. Is it going to have that Joe Yours truly stamp of approval? Looking at the draft alone, Cynic, who do you think?
Draft alone?
Yep.
Disregarding player skill,
yes.
Even worse timing's draft even still. Like Gadget Steel, Belica, just power picks. Murdoch's just relatively strong, and I think Zarus can be very strong in the right hands. I think this game is going to get blown open relatively quickly with the Zarus. So I expect the duo lane to be attacked relatively early. Muriel getting focused, to be honest, with the Belica, and obviously Revenant has no escape. Muriel has no escape, so that lane should be targeted from EWT.
And what about you, Mr. Meds?
See, I'd actually go for Fun Gaming here, just in terms of draft. I really like the later this game goes, I think the better For Fun Gamers draft looks. I think that's really, I think they've got, those two really big boys in Richter and Sevarog that are really good. That zone control, big AoE damage from the Gideon. And then Revenant also just becomes a monster in the late game, blowing up the likes of, the Gadget, the Belica, and then even sometimes going toe-to-toe with that Murdoch if he doesn't get this traps and his buckshot off.
Right. And so you're saying that we're hoping for FFG to scale, whereas when it comes to the draft of EWT, they're more for like the early game. Is that what you're saying, Meds?
So I'm saying that if For Fun Gaming can scale, then they're looking good, but they have to be let to scale. So I think even worse timing, with their early, I would say early to mid game focused team fight comp, I think that they won't allow For Fun Gaming to scale. So that's why, I'd actually favor even worse timing in this game, but I like the draft for Fun Gaming.
All right. Well, who has the stronger power of friendship? Game number 2, F6 and Crashy.
All right, game number 2, and we're looking at the Zarus. We got 6 on it, and I do actually have to agree. I think that even worse timing, I think that their draft is a little bit better, but you can't ignore the fact that FFG does have a pretty hard scaling comp. F6, what are you thinking about this one?
Honestly, the one person that we can see if Zarus, we could put that debate to an end, is going to be 100 Thieves 6. in this game. So seeing him on that, and I think that right there already tells me a lot about this team comp. They're going to be looking to use that Zara's ult to kind of just pick people out and kind of keep them just like in one area. So I think he's going to be able to accomplish that, especially not in the offlane though, because you know, Sephiroth kind of counters that Zara's ult, but going through that offlane, kind of just going on the Rev and the Muriel here, it's a big counter because they only have their blink to really escape. Obviously, Muriel can ult out, but that's going to leave your Revenant alone just in that lane just for a free kill.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he decides to do. And one thing I want to make note of, if you look at it now, he does have that assassin crest, was it rogue crest? So we'll have to see what he decides to build into it. I'm assuming he's going to build a Nex on it. I think it's a really, really great crest for Zarus. So we'll see how he decides to build, to build this entire hero, this entire kit. But with that rogue crest, we'll see what he goes with. So like I said, assuming the Nex, but we'll see what he does with it. So this game is going to be very interesting. They do have a ton of CC on their side, both through the utility that Zarus brings. We have Gadget Root, Steel Stun, Belica Knockup, and then we have FFG though. Again, really big scaling. We have Severog scaling, Richter, who's just a phenomenal tank at basically every stage of the game, who scales really, really well with additional stats. A really solid Muriel. I love when Muriel can make her way into a team fight, and then a Revenant. Again, I do definitely agree with Meds there. Revenant is a very, very dangerous late game carry. The problem is you got to get there. So even worse timing, we got to see if they're going to have that early aggression. And I think that Six, even back in the day when he was competing, has always been one of the more aggressive junglers. So I'm excited to see how he uses the Zarus, if he decides to kind of keep that up as well. And you see Seismic potentially looking for a roam already, kind of a similar beat as they were making their way over toward the offlane, but kind of deciding to cancel out that play.
Yeah, looking in, just going off of the rogue crest you were speaking about earlier, that does give him a little bit more damage into that early game going with Zarus, right? You see him kind of just still a little bit healthy, focusing on kind of just trying to get maybe a little bit of early ganks. He focused on the right camps just to be at the right levels. But I think you're going to start seeing him kind of just focus on that red and blue buff and try and get the bus on his side, and always looking for a potential gank early. But we see Mad Corporal coming in with the early gank, gets knocked up by Vecron, misses the pull. Unfortunate, not going to be able to do too much. Pablo taking a lot of damage there, but nothing's going to come out of this play. Good attempt, but not what you want to see coming out of a gank early.
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible. I mean, they're going to send Pablo back, and this is going to give Jay and Peak an opportunity to just push the wave, try to deny as much farm as possible, but undeniably that's going to set Mad Corporeal back a little bit in terms of his farming. So Six, you can see him on the top right of the map there, is still in the jungle, just clearing out his camps. So, you have to assume that he's going to be slightly ahead in terms of just farming pace. And I don't believe they burned a flash there in that gank. So, not a crazy successful gank, but not the worst thing in the world. So we'll see how that affects the rest of this game, mostly probably coming from the side of Six, as you can already see, again, showing a little bit of love here in this off lane.
Yeah, I think Shin just needs a little bit of help pushing that wave under, and that's what you're seeing, right? A lot of people just look over like, why is the jungler taking my wave? But honestly, he's just there to help Shin be able to back, and he's applying that pressure, not letting the Sev just kind of just freeze the wave right in front of his tower, which he still end up being able to do, but he took a lot of damage for trying to freeze there. But able to push that lane and get Shin to be able to back is a great thing that he just did there for his offlaner.
Yeah, I think that this just speaks to the level of communication and planning that they have, right? And Zephyr is going to hold that freeze at least for a little bit, but at least it helps him out some, right? And that gives Six the opportunity to just kind of like, put in his time, maybe even share a bit of experience, and then kind of continue back on his path. And he's up back into his red side jungle now. And ironic enough, I think that these two duo lanes, there hasn't been like a dominant duo lane. Whereas, I feel like in previous matches or just other matches of competitive Predecessor that I've watched, you tend to see a very strong duo lane, but both these duos a little bit of back and forth. They kind of push and they freeze, they do whatever they got to do depending on the timing. Mad Corporeal potentially looking for a gank there on the offlane, and man, ganking Steel, it's almost like the tank equivalent of ganking Gideon. It's just so incredibly hard to lock him down and really take him down as a tank. Has that large dash and then even the wall to potentially block some damage, and a little bit of trading coming out here in the duo lane as Jay takes a little bit of damage there.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a great point there, Crashy. Pretty even on the duo lane. Obviously, we're seeing a little bit more pressure on Pablo and Vecron's side, but we also saw the opposite a couple of minutes ago, right? One big thing I want to talk about is how this gadget, Seismic, is able to put this pressure on the Gideon in the mid lane here for Bry. You don't see that too often. Seismic is in a bad position, though, back here, but let's have Pablo and Vecron, and then you see that kind of Gideon just kind of run away. But the Seismic assault coming through the wall, what a hit. Still not able to kill, but they're applying that pressure to go for this Fang Teeth. As you can see, they're already there. They're already planning that.
Yeah, and that's the same thing I was talking about last game, right? Like, you know, they're very meticulous in where they position and how they're looking to kind of like get prio on a lane, maybe just try to find a pick. And if they don't get the pick, even just burning someone's health bar low enough is enough to put them on the board. So a repeat from game number 1, the same exact thing happening. They shoved out duo lane in game 1, got a couple of those members in duo lane very, very low, go for the Fangtooth. They shove out Bry here, you know, burn his health bar down, force him to back. They grab that Fangtooth. So again, the pacing is already on point. Now, as soon as you saw that happen, what did Six do? He goes back into his red side jungle, he backs, he buys, and where is he headed right now? F6, he's going towards that blue side jungle, maybe going to clear a little bit, maybe we'll even push or try to find some kind of an opportunity for a mini prime. I don't think that this hero might facilitate that quite as easily this early on, but we'll have to see, and maybe they'll even make a play just to set that up.
Well, I mean, he should hit level 6 off of his camps over on this duo side. If not, maybe just kind of pushing the off lane and kind of get the XP, look for that green buff. And kind of once he hits level 6, he does kind of get that pressure off to be able to do the orb prime here, because that ult is very scary, especially early on in the game, just to be locked in a cage, especially when the mini orb is doing damage to you as well, on top of just a Zarus, especially when you consider his passive on his RMB, on his Spear of Near, to be able to do 20% extra damage on lower health targets, right? So that is pretty scary as well. But I mean, there's not too much that you can talk about on Even War's timing when it comes to objective, other than they're just great at it, right? They're just there for the timers, and that is what you want to see from these high level tier players, and them just being able to do it over and over again is just immaculate from a perspective view.
Yeah, and I actually like what I'm seeing looking at the minimap now. Mad Corporeal has, you know, actually spent a little bit of time just checking out the river. They put out some wards. So, you know, whereas, you know, that was kind of my thought, Six might be looking to set up some kind of a play. You actually have FFG kind of looking and thinking similarly potentially. So you actually see now it looks like Bry looking to rotate, but he might get caught out by Six there. I think they have him in the river, has to use his teleport. Six drops down the ultimate, forces the flash there. So a nice play to at least force the flash down there. And that's one of the, I guess you could say, downside of Zarus ult is that he doesn't really have the potential to lock down the kill if they do have the flash. But burning the flash, that's going to open up some potential for Seismic to just keep pushing, maybe find some kind of a solo kill. And again, same thing. Six makes some kind of a play. They have the pressure. Bry's health is down a little bit, and now they're pressuring together as a team, looking to potentially go for this mini prime here.
Yeah, I mean, they forced a blink on getting in there, right? I mean, there's a lot of ults just to kind of counter that argument that if you just have flash, you kind of just take the ult, negate the ult, in matter of fact. I mean, Peak has to come in here and ult for the J, and gonna have the pressure pie on Vecron. Vecron's gonna need to be careful, gets stuck in another room, has to blink to escape that obliterator there. Doesn't want to just be going out to the fountain back on the gray screen, but Pablo's still in the lane, just be able to soak up some XP, so nothing really to come out of that one. But talking back to that, like what we're talking about with Zarus's ult, like he did force a blink, but let's think about it. If he does not have that blink there, he was a dead man. That ult kind of just took a bunch of damage out of that Gideon's health, and if he was stuck in there without a blink, I think we would have got a kill.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's a perfect trade, right? Like it's ult for blink. That's what you want. You open up the potential to gank him again. You open up the potential for Seismic to take him down. Zephyr now finding Six, and Six has to use his blink because he does not want to lose this mini prime here, right? He just got that advantage, doesn't want to drop that just yet. And so Zephyr trading his ultimate for the flash, kind of a similar fashion. Matt Caporia with the big hook. Bry now dropping down the meteor, finds a pick in the mid lane here. So even worse timing, losing a member there. FFG putting themselves on the board, and this game has been pretty consistently even across the state of the game thus far.
Pretty even across like the kills and the assist ratio, but I do have to say when it comes to objectives, if they keep letting Six just kind of rotate, or just the entire even worse timing, just do what they want for these neutral objectives like they did the other game, they're not going to have a great time when it comes to the mid game. So they're going to have to kind of get a little bit more aggressive and try and just put a little bit more pressure on even worse timing, because last game we saw them kind of just gave it pretty much everything for free, and they cannot make that mistake again going into game 2.
Yeah, I agree, and it does look like I've just been kind of eyeballing the build on Zarus. It looks like a Mutilator's being built again. Still does have that rogue crest, and now we're seeing Pablo J getting in a bit of an engagement. Peak is not, or sorry, Vecron not really able to help him, so Pablo just has to back up. I really thought he was going to like lock him down there. Didn't quite have the ultimate. If he had that, he just used it, previously on Vecron. But if he had that, Pablo might have been a dead man. So a very what feels like even lane going down in the duo lane. If we could actually take a look at their farm, I'd be really interested to see what kind of farm they have. So Jay sitting at right the 100 CS mark, and Pablo at 76, so a little bit of an advantage in terms of CS just on the side of Jay and FFG.
Yeah, that is not a lot of times you see Pablo under CS here. As we see for Fun Gamers applying that pressure, doing what even worse timing did. They got that pressure in that lane, and now they're able to do that to get towards this Fangtooth. But will they be able to burn it down before Six steals it?
Oh, look at that. Even worse timing. Walks in, Six jumps in, gets the smite, I have to assume. And now the fight potentially going down. Peak, Jay, and Bry all trying to get out. No, Jay is not going to make it through the portal. We're going to get taken down. So Mad Corporeal Jay are taken down. On top of that, F6 not getting the Fangtooth. Six dives in, makes it happen, and then they find themselves a couple of kills.
That is the caster's curse if I've ever seen one. I am so sorry for Fun Gamers, but Six with the plays coming in to steal the second Fangtooth for them and get a couple of kills. Oh my, oh my. My man Six is, oh Lord. Oh, okay, Pablo. That was unnecessary. Okay.
Fortnite. No victory royale. He's not able to stay alive. Pablo goes back to base, says, you know what, I'm going to spend that gold I just got for free, and he's walking his way back to the duo lane. So even worse timing, they're on the board. They've got the kill lead. They've got the Fangtooth lead, and now they just have to stay consistent. It's the same kind of a repeat of game number 1, really just playing it fundamentally, well, right? Using their teamwork, finding those picks, finding those opportunities. And I have to say, for Fun Gamers, I mean, they had a good opportunity to get that Fangtooth. Had they just got it, had they all been able to take the Gideon portal, I think that would have been a great play. Unfortunately, it didn't play out that way.
It did not. I mean, we were start talking about a little bit earlier about how Pablo was lower on the CS count, which is correct, but he is 3-0-0 going into this game and just kind of into the mid game roughly around here pretty soon. So, I mean, he's probably a little bit behind on the gold part there, but he is still doing his job of trying to securing these kills with the snipes and kind of just putting a lot of pressure across the map with that global ult.
Yeah, you can see Mad Corporeal kind of cheesing around, seeing if he can potentially make a play. Does look like he has some cooldowns.
With the Muriel backing, I mean, unless they have the ult, I mean, he's kind of just wasting a lot of time here, Crashy.
I mean, it could be the bait, right? They see the Muriel back. Maybe they think he's not around. The Muriel might look to flash in or ult in, but it doesn't look like anything's going to happen there. Six now, level 9, Zephyr trying to make a play, and then Six is diving in there. They have 2 ultimates back to back, and Shin's going to stay alive. They find another kill onto Zephyr, and this is something that I feel like I'm starting to see from even worse timing, like a healthy amount of focus on that offlane. They want to open up the map, but Macaporio comes in, finds the ultimate on top of the hook, and they find a pick there. So Bry is going to be able to get taken down there. I'm sorry, was that Bry? Was that
was Bry?
Bry taking down Jay, doing some things with the Revenant. This could be the saving grace for Fun Gamers right now. So just trying to find this kill onto Pablo. Pablo shoots the ultimate through the wall. Is he going to be able to take down Jay? He doesn't really want to contest him because Pablo still has some firepower. Look at that. The buckshot coming up from Pablo takes him down. And look at that. Oh, Jay, Peak in such a strong position, but landing that ultimate through the wall has absolutely turned it. Now Pablo can just chill. Peak, I don't know whether you want to take this fight. Pablo still has a lot of firepower, drops down the shield on top of him. Is he going to be able to land this Q? Will he find it? No. Pablo gets away unscathed.
Oh, no, he does not.
No, he doesn't.
Coming in. You know what? Kudos to you, Peak, for sticking with that fight and being confident inside with your abilities. But I mean, Pablo definitely had the better play there. The snipe coming in to kind of just understand, like, I just need to get this Revenant a little bit lower so my buckshot could do that much more damage to him. And if you didn't know, the buckshot does go through walls. So what a play coming out of Pablo. Unfortunate there, but great job on Peak to be able to clean that kill up.
Yeah, that was, you know, as soon as I said he got away, he did not get away. So he stays alive. And now we have another Mini Prime 6 going to be over there with his team. Seismic potentially pushing out that wave. And I actually think that Bry's going to be able to respond here. So at Corporeal Peak, Bry potentially looking to make something happen. And you actually see, it does look like 6 is going to dive away here. Zephyr here as well. And a nice response coming out from the side of 4Fun Gamers. Seismic here does have the Tesla Dome. He's going to drop that down. Are they going to be able to dive into this and make a fight happen? I do think that they got that Mini Prime. You can see it on Mad Corporeal. And they're going to look to chase out Sheen now. So he does drop that big ultimate on the steal, and you see a follow-up coming up from 6. It does look like even worse timing is now they are trying to find themselves to the back line. A big response coming up from the team. Mad Corporeal going to go down, and 6 continuing to chase Jay, Peak, Bry, now finding themselves out. It does look like Pablo shooting out that gigantic snipe, not going to take anybody down, and they're still on the chase here. You can see them continuing to chase them down, continuing to find some potential picks. Jay, Bry, the last members standing, as they're going to go on ahead and dump out here, run out here. Seismic putting down that pressure on the mid lane, and even worse timing takes the swing of momentum. A Fangtooth has just spawned as well.
They burned a blink early on, understanding that 6 was like, I am by myself here. I am alone. I am not going to take this fight. But the play coming out of Shin, the response from even worse timing, understanding they're going to lose that objective, but they can win the fight. Shin was able to stall, provide amount of CC needed. You didn't see him blow his entire kit right away. Big pull coming out of the Richter River coming in. Pablo's going to be safe, though. Not too much he can do by himself over there as a big rig. And he's just going to be able to skate on by here. But like I was saying, Shin was able to apply that pressure, keeping them there for a little bit longer, and then later on continuing that chase to pick up another kill and another little 3-piece coming in for even worse timing as they look towards this Fangtooth coming up.
Yeah, you see Jay just trying to push that lane as much as he can, and they are just going ahead, and we see even worse timing really committing to this. You have 6 now. Shin's going to kind of hold this corner, play that zone if they can. Matt Corporeal taking a ton of damage. So, I mean,
Jay?
Basically going to be given up for free. And Jay, tries to maybe get in there, goes a little bit too deep, not where you want to be. Even worse timing, finding a big pick there. But even still, I mean, Matt Corporeal was super, super low. So 3 Fangtooths unanswered, a kill lead in favor of even worse timing. And this is a game that is starting to run away from FFG as even worse timing continues to push their lead further and further.
They are pushing and pushing. They are indeed. We talked about it plenty of times already. I hate to be a broken, but they are just playing too passive, and they're not on the timing rotation that even worse timing is. They're able to put these pressures on these neutral objectives. Yes, they probably got, I think it was only 1 mini prime away from them, but they need to do that earlier, and it's just unfortunate they're just running away with their lead that they have right now.
Yeah, you can see Zephyr getting chased down here a little bit as well. Just trying to find the farm if they can. Matt Corporeal has 6 on top of him inside of his jungle, not able to stay alive. The next coming out, putting out some extra damage. And it's an ability haste 6 build on the Zarus. Definitely one of the builds that I like to play on him as well. So what is that? I think it's 20, 35 ability haste on those 2 items. So some haste built on Zarus definitely feels a good way to play him. We'll see how he continues to build that out. If there's much more of a game ahead of us, 19-24 on the clock, 6 stealing some jungle here on the red side of FFG, and 30 seconds from the big prime spawning. We do still have all 3 tier 1 towers up from the side of even worse timing, and a little bit of pressure here on this off lane.
Zephyr's going to have to be careful here. He does have 2 enemies inside of his own jungle. Jay also kind of a little bit pushed up without a tier 1 and without a support, so you're going to see a little retreat coming out of him. But this Orb Prime is pretty much in even worse timing's favor. You see them kind of getting to rotate. Pablo's going to clear this wave out, push it. You see them trying to get this mid pressure. But for Fun Gamers are looking like they're ready to respond to see if anything happens, even though Shin is very aggressive in this moment. He's going to try and apply this pressure on a Mad Corporal, but he's going to gonna hit the big stun off the top rope. Gadget ult comes in, Gideon trying to counter ult, but he's not doing as much damage as he needs to. Muriel ult comes in, but she's in a bad position. Big Zar's ult comes in the cage. Bride's gonna be able to bring out, but Muriel's looking low. Jay coming in for the response, and a big snipe coming in from Pablo in the back line to secure that kill, to apply more pressure onto this free orb prime. And I don't know about you, Crashy, but even worse timing right now are playing their hearts out.
I feel like the steel pick is just showing why he's such an animal of a tank. I mean, he just has so much CC, so much potential to chase as he can just dive the backline, get to the player that he wants to get to. And now, even worse timing, find themselves, what, 2-3 more kills here. They're going to go ahead and back up to continue to farm up, continue to push that lead further and further. And even though they're not going for this prime just yet, they're consistently pushing themselves. And so by the time they do go to the prime, there's really not much, or might not be much, of a winnable fight for FFG to take, or they can just take their time and wait for the Primal Fangtooth. If you get Primal Fangtooth, you can do whatever you want at that point. That Primordial Blaze giving you a ton of true damage on your abilities on hit as well, and even worse timing, taking their backs, taking their time. They still have all their tier 1 towers, so setting the lanes is definitely in their favor. And look at this, now Vecron getting a little bit caught out. Pablo has to maybe potentially back up. The big hook coming out from Mad Corporeal, though, so that's going to be Pablo taken down, and maybe a potential opportunity for FFG here.
What a great pick coming in out there, coming from the Mad Corporeal himself. He lands his hooks and he does not miss. We do have Zephyr putting a little bit of pressure onto Shin by himself. We see For Fun Gamers rotating to this fight. Shin is by himself. Reinforcements are on the way, though. They're trying to apply it, but Shin's going to be able to kind of just escape. Not really with the subjugate coming in. There's really not much you can do, though, because Steel is a big boy, and they're going to need to retreat from this fight.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. I mean, I said it earlier. He's just so incredibly hard to take down. Mad Corporeal having to use his flash, getting a little bit caught out there by even worse timing. And now you have 6 on the Zarus. Bride jumping in, dropping down the black hole in a big fight, breaking a Mad Corporeal, getting very low in the back line. Zephyr trying to peel off if he can. Bride doing whatever mage damage that he can, but unfortunately they do not have a carry alive. Bride, the last man standing for FFG. Even worse timing, 5 members left alive, and Bride uses his portal, trying to stay alive if he can, but even if he does, it doesn't really matter. That's a hat diving into the mid tower. 5 players down for even worse timing against FFG.
We see that Zarus ult coming into play. They're locking down 1 or 2 targets for them to put that damage out in there with that gadget ult coming in. Even with the Gideon coming out with the black hole on top, wasn't much damage was able to be put out on top of the entire team because they have that free roam they're able to do. We saw Pablo once again, the global ult presence that he's able to put out even from base across the map, and just that damage that comes out of him was just so intense and able to really turn the fight that was looking a little bit close into a win for even worse timing there, even though it was a 4v5 in that matchup.
The prime is in the hands of even worse timing, but unfortunately for FFG, it looks like the Primal Fang has spawned. So even worse timing, 17 to 5 kills on the board, 3 Fangtooths up, and now the potential pressure could be on. You do see response coming in towards that off lane against Zephyr, who's pushing that off lane as well, but all they have to do is, I was actually going to say, all they have to do is potentially dance here. No, 6 Pablo, they're going to be on top of this automatically. They do have a tank in the way of Steel on Shin on Steel rather, and now they're just looking to take this down. If there's not some kind of a response from FFG here, if they let them have this, that's pretty much all she wrote, and it does look like they're going to go ahead and do just that. No players for FFG in position. And again, I have to stress this, just my personal take, I just don't think you can ever let it happen. Even if it's the Hail Mary moments, you got to try to stop that Primal Fang, especially if that is the second buff. But if it leads to a second buff, you're in a tough position. And if it is the second buff, then you're in even worse timing, even worse position. You're in even worse something, even worse territory is what EW stands for now, because EWT is looking to push here, looking to make it happen.
Yeah, same thing we saw last game. Just applying that pressure. Now they're double buffed up once again. There's not too much they can do. Steel coming in with a big ult to go towards that backline. Jay's in trouble. He's just holding that SQ W, trying to run away, but that Primordial Blaze finishes him off over there. Mad Corporal in a bad position as well. He's going to need to run, but I mean, they're just holding WQ down. They're running after everybody. They're looking to take people down one by one.
Yeah, the towers are falling, the inhibs are going down. I do believe that we have 6 over in the off lane just dealing with Zephyr. Matt Corporeal is going to stay alive, going to be pushed all the way to the core though, and even worse time and looking to end the series 2-0. They have this wave, they have the buffs, they have the wall coming up from Steel, and look at that, Zephyr is trying to get away. 6 is just not wanting to let it happen. Pablo, Seismic, Vecron, they're all here trying to do what they can to stay alive, to push this, to end this game. Peak, Matt Corporeal, Bride, they're just doing what they can, trying to wave clear. Oh, and look at that instantly. I believe he got silenced out of that, stunned out of that, not exactly sure, but Bride, the ultimate, the black hole not coming down, and unfortunately even for that, no wave clear on top of that as well, but it looks like there maybe potentially have some life left in him. Nope.
The last
it's flat.
stand, the last stand is coming up for Fun Gamers. Can they do it? They do have 2 buffs. Shin blinks into pressure over Jay. Jay, can he escape? I don't think so. He's looking like he's about to go down, and there he goes. Bry is the last member of Fun Gamers. Even worse timing is pushing towards this core, and there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You will be seeing even worse timing at the grand finals tomorrow, September 3rd.
Even worse timing. Cynic said it himself, maybe the best team in the game. Insane macro play. They're always on top of it, always working together. You can see the way that runs out. And actually, the craziest thing, I got to make note of this. I just have to bring it up because I think it's funny. The exact build that Six built is the same build that he built on Crunch, literally to the T, the exact same item. So really interesting. I'm going to have to give that one a try. So big shout outs to Even Worse Timing 6 playing the Zarus. The second time he was picked, finding himself a win on the board. Even Worse Timing taking the series 2-0. And yeah, phenomenal performance.
Yeah, oh man, even worse timing. I commend you. Great job. You guys, macro player out of this world. We're going to see if somebody on the bottom side of the bracket is going to be able to contest you. And I'm sure there is, because there's been a lot of talks going around. But let us know about that game, our dog. Appreciate you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, F6 and Crashy. Wow, were we in for a ride. Unfortunately, the hamster does, beat the black cat. Like EWC just, has no S key, and they are pressing the W key even harder. They will move on to the grand finals. Congratulations. Mr. Meds, tell us what just happened.
Well, I think you summed it up really well there. I think Even Worse Timing actually removes the S key from their keyboards because, we saw...
I should try that out.
Yeah, we saw Six go 6-0. We saw Pablo go 10-3. They just like to go forward. And as you saw kind of in that last, 2 or 3 seconds of that game, we saw Shin flashing underneath the core just to, kind of assert authority over the other team. So I think that the W key just is the best key in the game. So
yep, and just like what you said about game 1, dominance, right? But what about you, Cynic?
If you just watch how EWT play in terms of their vision game and the lane priority and how they play around objectives, they're never really going for an objective unless they know what's happening on the map, right? They either chunk out the Gideon in mid lane, then they went straight for the Fang Tooth, no hesitation, because they knew that they would be in a numbers advantage. If you looked at the vision, every time the lane, the jungler was around, like the off lane or the dual lane, every time they had priority, they were putting deeper and deeper vision down. Whereas if you look at it from FFG's perspective, all of their wards were either defensive or very, very passive. So they weren't gaining as much information as EWT were gaining from vision. So yeah, dominance from EWT. Early game was a little bit sloppy and mistakes were made, but they kind of just snapped back into reality and were like, okay, we should just win this now, guys, and just end the game.
Yep, GG's to the both of them. While we have you here, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Prime Championship Circuit. This is PCC number 5. Drop us a follow. Thank you so much for the subs. Sub to us if you haven't already, so you don't get ads. And then, subscribe to the YouTube, join our Discord, and follow us on Zitter. Don't go anywhere, because coming up next, we have Dirty Lake and the Boys versus the Professors.